What's up, vinyl community? Welcome to the third episode of the world-famous Vinylology video series, where we rank the top 3,000 album releases of all time. This episode features two of my friends, Vi and Gianna, who try and help me with grading, so we have our very first paddle time. And don't be surprised if there's a special guest. After this episode, we will be 1% done with the list. Woohoo! Party!
Here, what do you like? You like green eyeball? Here.
Here's an eraser. Dead Boys are an American punk rock band from Cleveland, Ohio. The band was among the first wave of punk bands and was known as one of the rowdiest and most violent punk groups of the era. Dead Boys were formed by vocalist Steve Bators, lead guitarist Cheetah Chrome, rhythm guitarist Johnny Zero, bassist Jeff Magnum, and drummer Johnny Blitz in 1976. Splittering off from the band Rocket from the Tombs. Young, Loud, and Snotty is their debut studio album from 1977, and the band only released 2 studio albums in their entire career. The album is the only Dead Boys album to chart, peaking at 189 on the Billboard 200 in November 1977, and was originally released by Sire Records on LP, cassette, and 8-track. Famous music engineer and producer Bob Clearmountain has been interviewed and stated that he played bass on the album before Jeff Magnum rejoined the group. The album is produced by the legendary Jenna Raven, also known as Goldie, who is extremely noteworthy as the lead singer in what is considered the very first all-female American rock band, Goldie and the Gingerbreads, from 1962 to 1967. Lead track Sonic Reducer is a punk rock song written by Cheetah Chrome and David Thomas during their tenure in Rocket from the Tombs, which made its recorded debut on Young, Loud, and Snotty with a change of lyrics that were written by Steve Bators. Sonic Reducer starts things off amusingly with all sorts of phase drums and other stereo gimmicks that later generations wouldn't consider punk at all. The song is widely regarded as a punk classic and has been covered by bands as varied as Guns N' Roses, Overkill, Pearl Jam, Saves the Day, and many others. The song was sampled on the Beastie Boys song An Open Letter to NYC on their 2004 album To the Five Boroughs. It is also featured on 2 different skateboarding video games, Tony Hawk's Underground 2 and Tony Hawk's American Wasteland. Little Girl is a popular song recorded by the California group The Syndicate of Sound and was written by Don Baskin and Bob Gonzalez of the band. It reached the U.S. national pop charts in June 1966, peaking at number 8 on Billboard. Little Girl was a minor UK hit for the punk band The Band, which may have been the inspiration for the Dead Boys cover. Young, Loud, and Snotty was included at number 7 on the Rolling Stone 10 Greatest Punk Rock Albums reader poll. My copy is a beautiful reissue from Vinyl Me Please, released in the year 2021. It is a green marble translucent vinyl, limited in number of only 1,000 copies, and is sourced from the original master tapes. My personal score for this is a 7. The ladies' score was a little less. A 2! I'm amazed at how good the lead guitar playing is by Cheetah Chrome. There are 2 songs, Sonic Reducer and Ain't Nothing to Do, which are classics. Every teenager should be able to relate to Ain't Nothing to Do. I am not sure why this album gets overlooked by some, but this is definitely a classic punk rock album and needs to be in everyone's collection. Lust is a debut album by Belgian techno band Lords of Acid, released in 1991. The band had released several 12-inch singles prior to their full-length debut, and these songs, I Sit on Acid and Hey Ho, were already dance club hits. Lords of Acid. Lust by Lords of Acid.
Acid?
Yeah.
OPH?
Lords of Acid.
Okay.
Acid is a drug.
I was wondering if it was the chemical or the drug.
Okay, you're not gonna like this. With its outrageous, sexually explicit, tongue-in-cheek, often humorous lyrical themes, Lust has earned positive reviews from music critics both in and out of the dance music community. As the album's title implies, the tracks touch upon various sexually related topics, including S&M with the song Rough Sex, breast size with the track I Must Increase My Bust, sex with aliens with the song Spacey Bitch, and oral and anal sex with the track I Sit on Acid, whose lyrics consist entirely of the chant, I want to sit on your face. The song The Most Wonderful Girl, an ode to self-love and masturbation, also appeared on the soundtrack to the Sharon Stone erotic thriller Sliver, and is perhaps the rave scene's answer to the Divinals' I Touch Myself. The track Hey Ho contains a sample of Hey Ho from the 1937 Walt Disney film Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and the song Let's Get High features samples from Bill Cosby. Mixing Bill Cosby and sex is probably not the wisest move, but Lords of Acid do their own thing. So when the album was released, it was not released on vinyl. It wasn't until the year 2017 when it was finally put on wax, and it was a limited edition release of only 500 copies. It took me a while to get this, and it's honestly already kind of expensive, and I imagine it will only keep going up in price unless it ever gets repressed again, since there's only 500 total vinyl copies in existence. The remastered version also has some B-sides and remixes from the album singles, so it is nicely spread across 2 LPs. As expected, the dynamic range suggests the digital source has been slightly compressed. This is a weird album to review as a middle-aged adult. It sounds like what you imagine 1990s techno music to sound like, with very repetitive, aggressive beats and odes to sex and drugs. The sexual themes are so prominent and in some cases quasi-dirty that it is like listening to the equivalent of a pornographic movie. However, it somehow honestly works, and some of the songs are catchy as hell, like Take Control. The music and the sex-driven lyrics go well together, and in fact is pretty funny, and you will unfortunately have some of the lyrics stuck in your head. I must increase my bust. It is nice that the remixes were included in a vinyl release. However, be warned that I would assume some people may find this too sexual, and I can totally understand that. This is all evidenced by Vi and Gianna's reaction to the music, and even just the song titles. My score is a 7, however the ladies obviously were not convinced. It has to be one of the coolest band names in rock band history. Here we have Source Tags and Codes by American rock band And You Will Know Us by the Trail of Dead. This was their 3rd album and the first distributed by a major record label and was released in 2002. The album is often cited as the band's finest work and is their only entry on this list. After releasing 2 albums on indie rock imprints, And You Will Know Us by the Trail of Dead signed a multi-release deal with Interscope Records and began recording. Their major label budget improved the recording quality and allowed intricate orchestral pieces, yielding a sound texture unlike previous records. Song topics are very diverse about topics such as French poetry, Hong Kong films, and growing up in Austin, Texas. Source Tags and Codes was met with critical acclaim from almost everyone. Pitchforks awarded Source Tags and Codes a very rare perfect score, which humorously the band disagrees with. Also in a 2011 article, the BBC's Mark Driver calls it one of the very finest rock albums of recent history and a masterpiece of its time. My vinyl copy is a double LP release on orange translucent vinyl with an etching on the 4th side, and also has 3 bonus tracks. The etching is what was on the original back cover art of American artist and writer Henry Miller. The packaging is very nice and the sound is fairly decent. My score of this album is a 7. The music snatched my wig, and I especially like the drumming and all the effects and sounds they added in the production as a nice touch. The best songs on here, in my opinion, is It Was There That I Saw You and Baudelaire. Even though it is the only album on the list, they have other albums that are great, and I encourage you to go deeper into their discography if you like this one. Twilight of the Thunder God is the 7th studio album by the Swedish melodic death metal band Amon Amarth. The band's name comes from J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings trilogy, and Twilight of the Thunder God was released in 2008. The album's name and title track refer to Thor's slaying of the Midgard serpent Jormungandr. Interestingly, all the running times of the songs fall within 10 seconds of each other. Twilight of the Thunder God features several guest appearances from other death metal bands like Entombed, Children of Bodom, Stone, and Apocalyptica. To help promote the album, a series of 8-page comics were made during the production of the album, released in magazines throughout Europe. The album debuted at number 50 on the US Billboard 200, a very impressive feat for a Viking-themed death metal band from Scandinavia, and debuted at number 11 on the Swedish album charts. This marks the band's first album to chart on the top 200, and also the band's highest chart debut in their native country of Sweden. Initial critical response to Twilight of the Thunder God was positive. The album was ranked number 6 on Metal Hammer's top 50 albums of 2008. My copy is from The Story of Metal Blade by Vinyl Me Please, which has the remastered version. The packaging and artwork is incredible, with a clear transparent vinyl with black and orange splatter. I highly recommend it if you're a heavy metal fan. According to the notes on the album, Metal Blade founder Brian Slagle helped influence the band to change the running order of the album, where he argued heavily that the title track needs to be the first song on the release. My personal grade for this album is a 7, as surprisingly Gianna saw the appeal. Vi just says no. Anyway, for death metal, this is very accessible and the music is fantastic, especially the guitars. The singing in death metal is usually a big turnoff for me, but it is enjoyable here and fits the subject matter of the Norse god Thor very well. I know death metal purists probably don't consider this a pure death metal release with all the melodies, but I'm sorry, this is good and it does represent the genre well. The classical instrumentation in the background is also very nice. It makes the music even more bold and epic. This is Amon and Marth's only entry on the list. White Chocolate Space Egg is the third studio album by American singer-songwriter Liz Phair, released in 1998. White Chocolate Space Egg peaked at number 35 on the Billboard 200. The album is named after seeing her newborn son's head for the first time, supposedly. Unlike her previous two albums, which dealt heavily with themes of sex and relationships, White Chocolate Space Egg focused more on motherhood and family, as Phair had recently gotten married and given birth to a son. The album was released after many delays, assumingly due to Phair's personal life events. The album received generally positive reviews upon release. Rolling Stone called it engagingly intimate, while at the same time playful and poppy with just enough dry humor. The magazine also praised the album for its storytelling lyrics. Others, like the Washington Times, appreciated musical and lyrical maturity conveyed on the album. However, some other critics acknowledged this was not as good as her previous material, which seemed more emotional and angry and with purpose. Since the album's initial release in 1998, it was not re-released on vinyl until 2018, which is what I have. The newer pressing takes the original single LP and presses it instead onto 2 LPs, so that has to be better than the original pressing. The sound and pressing quality is top-notch. Unfortunately, Vi decided to destroy my vinyl jacket, but hopefully it can be fixed. My score for White Chocolate Space Egg is a 6.5, and the ladies like this a little bit better. This is decent, with some songs being memorable and others just being okay. To me, the title track and Big Tall Man with its catchy chorus are keepers. I also love Baby Got Going. It is fantastic. I almost wish the whole album was like this one song. I tend not to prefer her slower songs. In Perfect World, for example, she seems like she is singing a little flat at times, and I think the lyrics in Only Son is horrible. Down to Earth is the fourth studio album by the British hard rock band Rainbow. It is their last album to feature drummer Cozy Powell and their only album with vocalist Graham Bonnet. Released in 1979, it contains Rainbow's first hit single, Since You've Been Gone, marking a more commercial direction of the band's sound. The writing of Down to Earth began at Ritchie Blackmore's house in Connecticut in December 1978 and proved to be a transitional album for the band. By that time, Blackmore had dismissed both bassist Bob Daisley and keyboard player David Stone soon after singer Ronnie James Dio quit the band. Blackmore had already recruited his old Deep Purple bandmate Roger Glover as producer and started auditioning musicians for the vacant slots in the band, while songwriting progressed with Blackmore, Cozy Powell, and session musician Clive Chapman on bass. The backing tracks were largely written by Blackmore and Glover. Even though Glover was dismissed from Deep Purple in 1973, he enjoyed started working again with Blackmore and ended up playing bass on the album and provided lyrics for most of the songs. While auditions for the new singer proceeded, Glover tracked down ex-The Marbles singer Graham Bonnet, who auditioned in France and was immediately hired. During song composition, Bonnet made the vocal melodies, though his contributions remain uncredited. Bonnet had some previous minor success as a pop vocalist and possessed a raspy and forceful vocal style that was well suited for a hard rock band. Down to Earth is the only Rainbow album to feature Bonnet. In 2005, Down to Earth was ranked number 431 in Rock Hard Magazine's book of the 500 greatest rock and metal albums of all time. Funnily enough, in a 1979 magazine interview, Blackmore dismissed much of his own music at the time and called most of it rubbish. My vinyl copy is a Polydor 1979 copy pressed at PRC in Compton, California. The album is fairly easy to find. It should not cost too much. The most recent repressing was in 2015 on 180 gram vinyl. And also of note, there was a limited 1979 clear vinyl pressed in the UK that for some reason reuses their hand image from their Rising album cover on one of the labels. I give the album a score 6, and the ladies' scores were close with me. The album is decent, and I personally think the songs Eyes of the World and Since You've Been Gone, which was written by Russ Ballard, by the way, a great songwriter formerly of Argent. These two are the best tracks, while everything else is just okay. Glover's lyrics are not really that noteworthy, and Graham's delivery is kind of dull at least some of the time. Blackmore's guitar licks sound nice, but again are not really overly special in this release. Danger Zone is an exception and does have fantastic guitar playing, however. The result of the production seems to suggest a more commercialized direction than their previous works.
Rock on. Ace Frehley here. I am taking over. This is my 1978 solo album. If you live under a moon rock or are not from this galaxy, I'm the lead guitarist of the greatest American hard rock band in the world, Kiss. My solo album from one of the 4 Kiss solo albums simultaneously released by Casablanca Records in 1978. I have to admit that this is my best solo album, but it's absolutely bonkers that this is my only album on this list. Come on, man. What the hell? I am Space Ace. I should have every album on here. What about Frehley's Comet and Second Sighting? Alan is putting me down, man. Anywho, in 1978, my fellow band members in Kiss were not listening to me and experiencing internal disagreements over our future direction. So it was decided to release 4 solo albums to placate each of us and our fans by giving us complete control over one solo release. And of course, mine kicks the other's ass. My album featured Anton Fig on drums and Will Lee, who played bass on 3 of the album tracks, and who both would later be stolen from me, later become band members for David Letterman's late night talk show. Dave knows to steal from the best. Of course, most critics agreed with me and found that my album was the best of the 4 solo albums released, with much better songs. Some of the songs deal with alcohol or drugs, specifically Snowblind, Ozone, and Wiped Out. I'm so sorry. Don't do drugs. Whatever. New York Groove, which was first recorded in 1975 by the British glam rock band Hello, rose to number 13 on the US Billboard Hot 100 singles chart, and was once again written by Russ Ballard, who wrote the best song on the previous Vinylology entry, Rainbows, Since You've Been Gone. I only use the best. This was the highest chart placement for any of the singles released from all of the 1978 solo albums. Ha ha! Take that, Gene. Suck an egg. Ha ha! My album was certified platinum in 1978. It is the highest selling of the 4 Kiss solo albums. Some of the songs were originally meant to be on the Kiss album, Rock and Roll All Over, but I took them for myself and told my loser bandmates to get more whippy Catman ballads from Pete instead. Most copies of my wonderful album included a poster as an insert, which was designed to fit side by side with my other 3 chumps, who also had posters in their releases. Alan's copy is a 180 gram remastered pressing from 2014. A wise choice, my man. This is the most recent vinyl release, and has been nicely done, and this was the first US pressing since 1985. like a fine wine. Only the best for the best kick-ass guitars from the stars. I can't read music, but I know how to make that guitar smoke. So naturally, I would give this album a perfect score. But dumbass Alan only gives this a whip-ass 7. What the hell? He says it's basically typical hard rock and roll. And what is wrong with that? There are some good songs, but then he says that other songs are not that special. What? And they say that I am on to alcohol and drugs. Whatever. Rip It Out, Fractured Mirror, and New York Groove are Alan's faves. If you're interested in my band Kiss It All, I would definitely recommend this, since it really does not go too far from our general sound. And of course, I just make it sound that much better. As mentioned before, this is my only solo release on this list, and this is the 4th album in this episode that only has single album representation on the Vinylology list. Gold stars abound. I will take it, and you may all enjoy the rest of the crap on this list. Unless there's something with me on it, you're absolutely wasting your time. Brothers and sisters, keep rocking to the stars. Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, help us all get to space and start those moon colonies soon.
Sorry about that rude interruption. Heaven to a Tortured Mind is the 4th studio album by American experimental electronic artist Tumor, released in 2020. It features many guest artist collaborations and has samples as diverse as a Roy Harper and Jimmy Page track to the 1998 PlayStation game Metal Gear Solid. Heaven to a Tortured Mind received widespread acclaim from music critics. If it helps, at Metacritic, which assigns a normalized rating of 100 to reviews from mainstream critics, the album has an average score of 88 based on 18 reviews, indicating universal acclaim. Almost all the critics praised the album and embraced Tumor's creativity and willingness to change, and most of them labeled the release as psychedelic soul for the 21st century. The truth is that the album is a hard to completely define collage of styles, with elements of glam, psych rock, crock rock, Britpop, soul, and noise rock here, wrapped in the envelope of electronica. This being a newer release, there are only a few vinyl options to choose from. I have the standard original black pressing, which for some reason attracts dust and static like crazy, and I'm constantly having to clean it repeatedly. I would safely assume that the best version of this is from Vinyl Me Please. It is transparent and black marble, numbered and limited to 500, so good luck getting that. Not too surprisingly for a mono release, the dynamic range is low. My personal grade is a 6.5, and the girls' scores were lower. I honestly don't understand why all the critics love this album so much. It is not bad, but why in the world does it get such overwhelmingly glowing praise is beyond me. It's definitely different, I give it that, but is it something that I would jam to driving around town? Definitely not. Medicine Burn, Kerosene, and Strawberry Privilege are probably the best songs on here in my opinion, and trying to understand the album cover will make your brain hurt. 7th Sojourn is the 8th album by the Moody Blues, released in 1972. I don't understand the album title. Why is it not called 8th Sojourn? That title makes no sense. Anyway, this is the last album of the classic Moody Blues lineup of Justin Hayward, John Lodge, Ray Thomas, Graham Edge, and Mike Pender, who had worked together for 6 years. As this album proved difficult to record with the band members not really getting along well, and a 1973 follow-up quickly shelved after inception, the group decided to go on a 3-year hiatus after their tour of Asia in 1974, which was pianist Mike Pender's last tour with the group. Much of the album's lyrics address political concerns, and the hit song I'm Just a Singer in a Rock and Roll Band was a response to fans who mistakenly read guru-like wisdom into the lyrics. The song reached number 12 on the Billboard chart. This was the last Moody Blues single to use a Chamberlin for the recording, which was an electro-mechanical keyboard instrument. Isn't Life Strange was another substantial hit for the group. However, both songs were overshadowed by the 1972 single re-release of Nights in White Satin, which had been first released in 1967. Whereas both singles from 7th Sojourn made the top 40, Nights in White Satin bested both, hitting number 9 in the UK and number 2 in the United States, and gaining the highest American chart position for a Moody Blues single. As for the album itself, 7th Sojourn reached number 5 in the United Kingdom and became the band's first American Billboard chart topper, spending 5 weeks at number 1 to close out the year 1972. My copy is a 1974 repress pressed at the Terre Haute Columbia Records pressing plant. This is extremely easy to find used in record store dollar bins and in thrift stores, so you can easily get this very cheaply. There are several superior versions if you want to splurge, one from Friday Music made in 2015 and a 180 gram version pressed in 2018 that supposedly sounds amazing and was cut at Abbey Road Studios. Even the best versions of this will run you no more than $30. My score for this album is a 7. Unfortunately, the girls got scared away thinking Ace Frehley was coming back and ran away. Anyway, this is a great album and has aged very well. It starts off well with Pender's Lost in a Lost World, and then Hayward's next song, New Horizons, is great. There are 2 big classic rock songs on here. Isn't Life Strange, which I always found the echoey verses slightly annoying, and I'm Just a Singer in a Rock and Roll Band, which is amazing and full of energy and has an absolutely amazing bass line as well as nice assertive drumming. What a great song. Other songs sound nice but are a little lackluster, like When You're a Free Man. Panorama is the 3rd studio album by American new wave band The Cars, released in 1980. Like its predecessors, it was produced by Roy Thomas Baker and released on Elektra Records. After releasing 2 albums, one a perfect pop rock meets new wave classic and the other a very good follow-up, this record marked a change from the upbeat pop rock and hard rock of the group's previous albums, and it was not as commercially successful until 1987's album Door to Door. Though it lacked any enduring hit singles, it did hit number 5 on the Billboard 200 chart and has been certified platinum in the United States. One of the singles off the album, the song Touch and Go, peaked at number 37 on the Billboard Hot 100. My copy is from The Cars, The Elektra Years, 1978 to 1987 box set. This has been remastered, is on beautiful 180 gram green marbled vinyl, and sounds fantastic. I completely recommend this box set. All the albums are great and are must-haves. My personal score for this is a 7. The songs have that established Cars new wave sound, but they must have been trying to expand a little bit into experimental territory, so it's not quite as appealing as their first 2 albums. However, it is nowhere as bad as some of the historical reviews lead you to believe. For example, Rolling Stone gave this a 1.5 stars out of 5 upon release. It's just simply not that bad. That score's ridiculous. Anyway, Touch and Go and Misfit Kid are great songs, and I challenge you to listen to the last song, Up and Down. That song absolutely jams. It is true that this album doesn't quite meet the Cars' established excellence, so it is basically a disappointment, but give it a try. It is definitely underrated, and a band trying new things has to be applauded. There you go. The thunderous conclusion of the 3rd of 300 videos celebrating the absolute best vinyl releases of all time, painstakingly ranked for all of you to enjoy. If you like this, please consider subscribing and giving it a like. Give me comments and tell me I suck. Thanks for watching, and thanks to Vi and Gianna with helping with this episode. Hopefully I can talk them into coming back someday if I can ensure that Ace will never return. Have a good day.
Well,